London erupted this weekend. Streets overflowing with flags, chants echoing through Whitehall, and scuffles breaking out as police scrambled to contain the chaos. More than 100,000 protesters surged through the capital in a show of force not seen in years. But this wasn't just any march. It was a rally that shook the heart of British politics and left the country asking one question: has the anti-migrant movement just reached a dangerous new peak? It began with numbers nobody expected. The Metropolitan Police admitted they were caught off guard. What was meant to be a march through Whitehall quickly became too big to contain. Around 110,000 people poured into central London, waving the Union Jack and the St. George's Cross, while some carried American and Israeli flags. For a country used to smaller rallies, this was different. This was a tidal wave of anger, dwarfing the 5,000 counter-protesters from Stand Up to Racism, who tried to make their voices heard on the other side of the barricades. But the sheer size of the march was only the beginning. What followed spiraled into chaos. Protesters tried to push past police lines, veering from the approved route. Bottles and flares were hurled through the air, while officers were kicked, punched, and forced into brutal street clashes. The Metropolitan Police later confirmed 26 officers were injured, 4 of them seriously. Only 25 arrests were made on the day, but commanders warned this was just the start, promising a wave of follow-up action as they identify more faces from the crowd. For many, the violence wasn't just shocking. It was a warning sign of where Britain's anger might be heading. At the center of it all stood Tommy Robinson, the figure who has long turned Britain's immigration debate into a battlefield. Addressing supporters, he declared the march the spark of a cultural revolution, claiming the crowd had unleashed a tidal wave of patriotism. Many carried signs demanding migrants be sent home, some even bringing children to frame the protest as a family movement rather than a fringe uprising. But Robinson's presence remains deeply controversial. His criminal convictions and history of street protests have made him toxic in mainstream politics, yet his ability to draw such staggering numbers shows he still wields influence far beyond what many in Westminster want to admit. And then came a twist few expected. Appearing by video link, billionaire Elon Musk inserted himself directly into the protest. In front of Robinson's supporters, Musk called for a change of government in Britain, insisting that ordinary people were now too afraid to speak their minds. His intervention electrified the crowd, giving the march an international spotlight. For critics, it was proof that Britain's domestic battles are now being amplified by global voices. For Robinson's followers, it was validation. If one of the world's most powerful men was standing with them, then perhaps their movement was bigger than anyone had realized. But while Robinson was basking in the spotlight, one party kept its distance. Reform UK, riding high in the polls and led by Nigel Farage's allies, refused to be tied to him. Publicly, they avoided any mention of the march, wary of being branded too extreme. The strategy is clear. Reform wants mainstream credibility, not association with Robinson's criminal record or street movements. Yet the tension is unmistakable. Robinson's ability to mobilize over 100,000 people shows there is a pool of anger Reform would love to tap into. The question is, can they capture that energy without being tainted by the chaos? On the ground, the divide couldn't have been sharper. Protesters waving flags shouted, "We want our country back," while others declared, "We believe in Tommy." Placards called for mass deportations, and chants turned their anger toward Prime Minister Keir Starmer. But just streets away, the counter-protest painted a different picture. Teachers, students, and campaigners held banners urging unity, insisting that welcoming migrants makes Britain stronger. One teacher summed it up: "Hate is dividing us." For Londoners watching, it felt less like two demonstrations and more like two visions of Britain colliding in real time. Beyond the streets, the protest exposed a deeper reality. Immigration has now eclipsed the economy as Britain's most dominant political issue. This year alone, more than 28,000 people have crossed the channel in small boats, fueling a sense of crisis that no government seems able to contain. Across towns and cities, English flags have appeared on streets and even been painted on roads, supporters calling it national pride, while anti-racism groups warn it's a hostile signal to migrants. With tensions this raw, the question looming over Westminster is simple. Can any leader bring the country back from this divide? For Prime Minister Keir Starmer, the message from the march was unmistakable. Chants targeted him directly, accusing his government of losing control of Britain's borders. Despite Labour's huge majority, anger over migration threatens to erode trust faster than any economic promise. Starmer campaigned on stability, but stability means little when images of police scuffling with protesters dominate headlines. With Reform UK climbing in the polls and Robinson energizing the streets, Starmer faces a dilemma: crack down harder and risk alienating Labour's base, or move cautiously and risk looking powerless. Either way, the political cost is rising by the day. The march ended, but the echoes are still reverberating. What unfolded in London was more than just a protest. It was a warning shot to the political establishment. With tempers flaring, police injured, and rival visions of Britain clashing on the streets, the country is standing at a crossroads. Was this simply a one-day eruption of anger, or the start of a movement that could reshape British politics? Drop your thoughts below, because this debate is far from over.